The galaxy was at peace, or at least it pretended to be. The mighty galactic empire ruled over hundreds of worlds, and the smaller races followed its laws out of fear. War had not touched the core systems for decades. Most believed nothing could challenge the Empire's fleets. Yet far away, in the silent sectors near the edge of known space, strange whispers began to spread. The rumors spoke of humans, a young species that had only recently joined the wider galaxy. They were considered weak, slow, and primitive compared to the ancient races. No one feared them, not until the stories began. At first the whispers were small, nothing more than idle talk in dark spaceports. Merchants claimed they had seen huge structures in human territory, shipyards larger than anything humans should be able to build. Some swore they had witnessed massive frames being assembled in orbit around barren moons. Others laughed at the tales and dismissed them as foolish exaggerations. After all, humans could barely defend their own colonies. How could they create something that even the Empire would envy? But then the first scout ship vanished. The Empire often sent patrols to observe the border regions, and one of its fast reconnaissance vessels entered human space on a routine mission. It never returned. Days later, only fragments of twisted metal were found drifting near a dead world. The wreckage did not make sense. The cuts were too clean, the burns too deep. Imperial scientists examined the remains and argued for days, but no known alien weapon matched the damage. It was as if the ship had been torn apart by forces that ignored the normal rules of war. Fear began to creep into the hearts of those who studied the wreckage. One officer, pale and shaking, whispered a single thought that others tried to dismiss. Perhaps humans had done this. The idea spread faster than the Empire wanted. Traders carried the tale to other races, and soon the entire galaxy was talking. Some dismissed it with laughter. Humans cannot build weapons like that, they said. It must have been pirates, or an accident. But the laughter sounded forced, almost nervous. For every voice that mocked the rumor, another voice swore the stories were true. Meetings in the Imperial Palace grew heated. Admirals and senators argued late into the night. Some demanded an immediate investigation. Others said the Empire should ignore the whispers, that giving them attention would only make them grow. Yet no one could deny that something was happening in human space, something unusual, something dangerous. Reports kept coming. Long-range sensors detected strange energy bursts near the Sol system, readings that did not match any known engine type. Civilian traders spoke of being chased away from restricted zones, where massive shadows loomed in the dark, too large to be normal ships. Even smugglers, the boldest beings in the galaxy, refused to enter human-controlled regions. They spoke of patrol drones that appeared from nowhere and drove them back, of weapons that locked onto their ships with terrifying precision. Slowly, the laughter stopped. In its place came unease, and with unease came fear. The Empire could not hide the truth any longer. Something was being built, something powerful, something secret. The humans remained silent. They issued no statements, made no threats, sent no ambassadors to boast of their strength. Instead, they worked in silence, and that silence was more terrifying than any open warning. Other species had always shown their power with loud declarations, with fleets paraded across the stars. Humans did nothing of the sort. They let the galaxy wonder. They let the galaxy worry. And the galaxy did. On every world, in every market, in every military council, the question was whispered again and again. What are the humans building? The fear grew when a second scout ship was lost. This time, the crew managed to send a single transmission before being destroyed. The voice of the captain was filled with panic, his words cut off by static, but one line was clear. It's not possible. That ship should not exist. Those were his last words. The transmission ended in silence, and once again only debris was found. The galaxy trembled at the thought. If even the disciplined soldiers of the Empire were afraid, then what hope did the others have? The rumors grew wilder with every passing day. Some said the humans were building ships the size of cities, covered in armor that could withstand the blast of a star. Others claimed their weapons could split planets in two or punch holes through the strongest shields. No one knew the truth, and that made it worse. Fear thrives in shadows, and the humans seemed determined to keep their secrets hidden. Deep in their territory, something was taking shape, and no one dared to interfere. And then came the day that changed everything. Along the border of the Empire, at the edge of known space, a massive object was detected. It appeared without warning, emerging from the void as if the darkness itself had given birth to it. Every sensor screamed with alarms, every communication channel filled with panic. The first human warship had arrived, and it was nothing the galaxy had ever seen before. The border patrol ship Valor drifted silently through the cold void, its sensors wide open and its crew tense. The order from the Imperial Navy had been simple: investigate the strange object detected near the human frontier. To the officers on board, it sounded routine. They had investigated hundreds of false signals before, often nothing more than asteroid reflections or smuggler beacons. But this time felt different. The strange readings carried a weight that made every crew member uneasy. The commander, Captain Relan, tried to act calm, but even his voice carried a slight tremor when he gave commands. Hold course. Increase long-range scans. The crew obeyed, their eyes glued to the glowing data streams. At first, nothing appeared unusual, just silence and static. Then the scanners caught it. A massive shadow hung in the void, moving with slow, deliberate grace. The moment the image appeared on the main display, the bridge went silent. No one had seen a warship like this before. It was not smooth and curved like the elegant designs of the Empire. It was angular, jagged, brutal. Its hull was dark, covered in layers of armor that looked more like slabs of rock than metal. The ship's size dwarfed the patrol vessel. It was like an ocean beast compared to a small fishing boat. The first officer swallowed hard. That cannot be human. But the identification codes flashing faintly from the ship said otherwise. The signal was Terran. A human warship. Relan leaned forward, his throat dry. Run a full scan. The sensors activated, but almost instantly the systems began to fail. Data filled the screens with nonsense, as if the warship was cloaked in shadows that bent signals away. The engineers cursed, trying to stabilize the readings, but nothing worked. The human ship refused to be understood. It was not simply jamming their scans, it was ignoring them, as though their technology was meaningless. Relan clenched his fists. Open a channel. Demand identification. The communications officer nodded and transmitted the standard hail in galactic code. Minutes passed. No answer. Again they sent the message. Again only silence. The warship did not move, but its presence pressed against them like a silent threat. The crew felt as though the giant was staring at them without eyes. Finally, the warship stirred. Its massive engines lit with a pale blue fire, brighter and sharper than any drive they had ever seen. In an instant, the warship leapt forward. Not slowly, not cautiously. It moved at a speed that should have torn it apart, a speed that alien physics declared impossible. But it moved anyway, passing the patrol ship in a single blur of power. The crew shouted in panic as alarms screamed. Velocity breach. They broke the limits. That is not possible. The human warship slowed to a crawl again, hovering just beyond weapons range, as if mocking them. Relan felt sweat on his forehead. He gave the order to arm weapons, but even as he spoke, he knew it was pointless. Their patrol ship carried light cannons, nothing compared to the heavy fleets of the Empire. Against a monster like this, they might as well throw stones. The human warship remained still for several minutes, watching, silent. The crew whispered nervously, each man and woman wondering if this would be their last moment alive. Then something unexpected happened. The warship transmitted a signal. Not words. Not threats. Just a burst of sound that echoed like thunder across their speakers. It was low, deep, and heavy, shaking the ship's hull. No one understood what it meant, but everyone felt the warning in it. It was not a greeting. It was a reminder. Humans were watching. And then, without any further action, the warship vanished. It moved faster than their eyes could follow, its engines leaving only a faint shimmer in the void. The patrol ship tried to track it, but within seconds the warship had disappeared from every sensor. Silence returned to the bridge, but it was not the same silence as before. It was heavier, filled with fear. Reland slumped in his chair, his voice hoarse. "Record everything. Send it to command." His officers nodded, though their hands shook as they entered the commands. They all knew what would happen now. The Empire would not be able to ignore this. They had seen the impossible. A human warship, larger and stronger than anything in the Imperial fleet, with technology that made their own systems look like toys. When the report reached the Imperial High Command, chaos followed. The Admiralty gathered in a secret council, reviewing the footage in disbelief. One general slammed his fist on the table. "This must be a trick. No human could build that." But the recordings were real. The size of the warship was undeniable. The impossible speed was undeniable. The strange thunder signal was undeniable. Even worse, the fact that the patrol ship had survived was not a mercy, it was a message. The humans had chosen not to destroy them. The implications chilled every officer in the room. If the humans could destroy the patrol vessel so easily, but chose to let it live, then it meant one thing: they wanted to be seen. They wanted the Empire to know. That realization spread through the ranks like wildfire. Some claimed humans were preparing for war. Others insisted they were only protecting their borders. But no matter the debate, one truth was clear: the galaxy had changed. Across alien worlds, whispers grew louder. In marketplaces, in military bases, in shadowed taverns, the tale spread. The humans have a new ship. A ship that bends the rules of space. A ship that no one can scan. A ship that moves faster than thought. Merchants repeated the story with wide eyes, smugglers spoke of it in hushed tones, and even hardened soldiers lowered their voices when they said the word, warship. Fear turned into dread when more reports arrived. Merchant ships near human space claimed to have seen dark shapes moving in the distance, always too far to confirm, but always too large to be normal freighters. Long-range probes sent by the Empire vanished one after another, leaving only static behind. Every disappearance pointed to the same truth: the humans were hiding something massive. Back on the patrol ship Valor, the crew lived with nightmares of what they had witnessed. Some resigned from service, unable to face the memory. Others became obsessed, scribbling endless notes about the warship's design, its speed, its strange silence. The thunder signal echoed in their minds, keeping them awake at night. It was not just a sound, they realized. It was a warning, a simple and terrifying message: we are here. We are ready. In the halls of power, the Emperor himself listened to the report. His advisors begged him to prepare fleets, to strike before the humans could grow stronger. But the Emperor said nothing for a long time. Finally, he whispered, "If they can do this now, what will they build next?" His words spread like fire across the government. The galaxy had shuddered once already. Soon, it would tremble again. The report from the patrol ship spread through the Empire like wildfire. At first, the Admiralty tried to keep it secret, locking the files inside the highest levels of military command. But rumors had already leaked. Too many officers had seen the recording, too many whispers had left the council chambers. The story of the human warship could not be contained. Soon every senator, every general, every merchant lord was talking about it. The panic began quietly. Senators in the imperial palace held late-night meetings, pacing in fear, asking the same questions again and again. How could humans do this? How could a young race, barely a century in space, create a ship that ignored the laws of physics? Admirals studied the recordings until their eyes grew red with exhaustion, looking for mistakes, for evidence of trickery. None could be found. The warship was real. Its speed was real. Its impossible silence was real. The fleet commanders argued in circles, some insisting that the humans had stolen ancient technology, others claiming they had uncovered forbidden science. But one truth always returned to the surface. The humans had done something the galaxy thought was impossible. The Emperor's council chamber filled with shouting voices. "We must act now," cried Admiral Kareth, his fist pounding the table. "If humans can build one of these ships, they can build 100. Imagine a fleet of them, dark and unstoppable. We cannot wait." Others disagreed. "Attack now and we risk war with a species we do not understand," countered General Selvos, his voice heavy with fear. "We should watch them, study them, perhaps even negotiate. If we strike blindly, we may doom ourselves." The Emperor sat in silence at the head of the table, his expression unreadable. His golden eyes flicked between his advisors as they argued, each one more desperate than the last. Finally he raised his hand, and the chamber fell quiet. "The galaxy does not panic," he said coldly. "The Empire does not panic. We are order. We are strength. The humans will be watched. And if they move against us, we will erase them." The words sounded strong, but the chamber felt hollow after he spoke. For the first time in centuries, the Emperor's voice carried doubt. Outside the palace walls, the whispers grew louder. Traders refused to enter human space. Smugglers who once boasted of sneaking past Terran patrols now refused to fly anywhere near Sol. Civilian colonies near the frontier begged for additional defenses, fearing that the humans would appear out of the dark and destroy them. Markets shook as investors pulled their wealth out of sectors near Earth, crashing economies and spreading fear like a plague. Even the common people began to talk. In crowded streets and busy spaceports, they repeated the same terrifying rumor. The humans had a weapon that no one could stop. The Admiralty could no longer pretend it was only rumor. The evidence was too clear. The patrol ship had survived, but that survival was worse than destruction. It proved the humans had chosen to let them live. To the admirals, that was the most frightening fact of all. It meant the humans were not reckless. They were confident. They had control. In secret meetings, the Empire's military leaders began to draft plans. Some wanted to gather a massive fleet and strike the Sol system immediately, before the humans could expand their strength. Others argued for spies, infiltration, sabotage. "If we cannot beat their ships," one admiral hissed, "then let us destroy the shipyards that build them." But still no one could answer the most dangerous question. How many warships had the humans already built? Were there only one or two, or were there dozens hidden in the void? No intelligence could confirm it, and the uncertainty drove fear deeper into every mind. The panic spread beyond the Empire. Other alien civilizations began to send urgent messages, demanding answers. The Kethari Republic threatened to pull out of trade agreements unless the Empire guaranteed protection against human weapons. The Shalari Confederation, usually calm and distant, sent warships to patrol their borders, declaring they would fire on any unidentified vessel. The galaxy itself trembled with suspicion. Everyone feared the humans, but no one dared to provoke them. Back in the Imperial fleet academies, cadets whispered in dormitories about the new enemy. They spoke of ships so large they cast shadows over entire moons, of weapons that fired shards of metal faster than light, of engines that could outrun thought itself. Each story was wilder than the last, but none could be dismissed, because no one knew the truth. And fear thrives when truth is hidden. The Emperor convened a second secret meeting, this time with only his most trusted advisors. The room was quiet, heavy with tension. "We face a challenge unlike any before," he admitted, his voice low. "The humans are building something beyond our understanding. If we do not respond, the Empire's power may collapse." His words shook the council. The Emperor rarely admitted fear. He turned to Admiral Kareth. "Assemble a task force. Strong enough to crush any single warship. Send it to the human frontier. Test them. Measure their strength. And if necessary, destroy them." The Admiral bowed, though his eyes betrayed doubt. He knew the risk. The humans had already proven they could outrun and outfight any normal ship. But an order from the Emperor could not be refused. Within days, the Empire's largest battlegroup in years gathered in orbit above a core world. Carriers, destroyers, cruisers, and dreadnoughts formed a massive armada. It was said that the fleet could conquer an entire star system in hours. Soldiers cheered, civilians prayed, and the media broadcast the glorious sight of endless warships stretching across the sky. But behind the cheers, fear lingered. What if even this fleet was not enough? In human space, the Terrans watched silently. Their transmissions remained quiet, their borders tightly sealed. The strange energy readings continued, but no explanation came. The humans gave nothing away, revealing no weakness, no intent. It was as though they waited, patiently, for the Empire to make its move. In the shadows of secret shipyards, human warships continued to rise from the darkness, their hulls glimmering like obsidian mountains. The Empire did not know how many, and that ignorance gnawed at their courage. Every admiral, every soldier, every politician wondered the same question. When the clash finally came, would the Empire prove strong enough? Or would humanity's new creations shatter the balance of power forever? And as the great Imperial fleet prepared to launch toward the frontier, the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. The Imperial fleet advanced toward human space like a tidal wave of steel and fire. Thousands of ships stretched across the void, their engines glowing bright against the darkness. Every commander knew the risks, yet no one dared speak the fear aloud. Orders had come directly from the Emperor: strike, test, and, if necessary, destroy. Captain Relan, now assigned to a larger vessel in the task force, felt a cold dread settle over him as the fleet moved closer to the coordinates where the human warship had been sighted. He had seen one before, and he knew that even this massive armada might not be enough. Scouts had reported unusual energy spikes near human territory, but no direct contact had yet been made. Still, the fleet moved forward, confident in numbers, arrogant in their assumed superiority. "Form the line," Admiral Kareth commanded from the bridge of his flagship. "We outnumber them 20-1. We cannot fail." The warships aligned, long shadows stretching across the stars, guns primed, engines humming with deadly potential. Every soldier aboard felt the tension. Many whispered prayers or promises to loved ones, though they knew few would survive what was coming. Deep within the human systems, the Terrans watched silently. Their sensors had tracked the approaching fleet for days. Human commanders spoke calmly, their voices measured, almost casual. "They are coming," one said. "Let them approach." There was no panic, no rush. Only patience. The human warships moved as shadows, blending into the void, appearing where no one expected. As the Imperial fleet closed in, the humans made their first move. A single ship emerged from behind a gas giant, larger than any dreadnought, its black hull gleaming against the faint light of distant stars. The Imperial fleet stopped. Scanners could not measure its speed, its engines, or even its weaponry. Silence swept across the bridges of every vessel, broken only by the hum of the massive fleet. Then the humans acted. Without warning, the warship unleashed its first strike. A beam of energy, unlike anything the Empire had ever seen, sliced through one of the destroyers as if it were paper. The explosion rocked the fleet, sending smaller ships tumbling into the void. Panic spread like fire. Alarms screamed across hundreds of ships, and gunners scrambled to fire at a target that seemed untouchable. But every weapon discharged melted against invisible shields. Projectiles were vaporized mid-flight. Energy beams bent away as if they had struck a ghost. The humans moved with precision and speed that defied comprehension. Another strike destroyed a frigate attempting to flank the warship. Then another, and another. Within minutes, the Imperial fleet lost nearly a third of its ships. The remaining vessels hesitated, unsure whether to retreat or continue the attack. Captain Relan gripped his console, shouting orders that seemed meaningless against the power before him. "Focus fire. Target the engines. Anything." But the humans anticipated each move. The warship shifted positions faster than their targeting computers could calculate. Every tactic the Empire tried failed. The larger human fleet had remained hidden until now, emerging from the darkness in perfect formation. Suddenly, the Imperial fleet found itself surrounded. The human ships moved in patterns that seemed random, but every strike was calculated, deadly. It was clear that this was not just one ship. It was a fleet, silent and invisible until it chose to reveal itself. Reports from other admirals painted the same picture. Weapons far stronger than anything the Empire had, shields that could withstand the combined fire of multiple cruisers, engines that allowed impossible maneuvers. Every officer on the bridge knew they were outmatched, but pride and duty kept them from turning away. The battle raged for hours, though it seemed like minutes. Explosions echoed silently through space as ship after ship was destroyed. The surviving Imperial vessels tried to regroup, but confusion reigned. Some commanders suggested retreat, but communications were jammed in a strange, undetectable way. Even the fastest ships could not escape. The humans dictated the pace, striking when they chose, vanishing when they pleased. And then the unthinkable happened. The flagship of Admiral Kareth, the largest ship in the fleet, was ripped apart in a single strike. The blast was immense, tearing through the hull with unstoppable force. Fragments of metal and debris floated across the void, leaving the fleet in stunned silence. The other admirals realized that the humans were not just defending, they were testing them. The message was clear: no number of ships, no display of Imperial power, could match human ingenuity and firepower. Captain Relan watched as his own ship sustained heavy damage. Systems failed one by one. The crew scrambled to repair, but the attacks came faster than they could respond. Every action was anticipated, every movement countered. Fear gripped him like ice. The humans were not just building warships, they had mastered space in a way the Empire had never imagined. The surviving fleet finally attempted a retreat, but even that was a nightmare. The humans did not chase them aggressively, but they did not allow them to escape easily either. Ships that tried to flee found their engines disabled by strange energy bursts, forcing them to limp back to the battle zone or drift helplessly. After hours of fighting, the Imperial fleet was a shattered shadow of its former glory. Entire squadrons were lost, the morale of survivors shattered. The few who managed to escape returned with reports that would haunt the Empire for decades. On every world, the news spread. The humans had shown the galaxy that they were not to be underestimated. Fear turned into panic. Scholars, strategists, and soldiers alike debated endlessly. How had a young species accomplished what the Empire could not? What else were the humans hiding? The council met again in desperation. Admiral Kareth pleaded for immediate reinforcements, for research into the human weapons, for espionage that could uncover their secrets. But the truth was terrifying. No one knew how the humans had achieved such power. Every attempt to study them ended in failure. And through it all, the humans remained silent, calm, and unyielding. Deep in the black of space, their warships returned to hidden shipyards, continuing to build more vessels, more power, more tools that would one day decide the fate of the galaxy. The failed ambush was not just a military disaster, it was a warning. The Empire had learned that sheer numbers and tradition meant nothing against the ingenuity and technology of humanity. From that day forward, every fleet, every council, every soldier carried a single thought in their minds: the humans were not to be challenged lightly. And somewhere in the shadows of space, the humans waited, patient, silent, and ready. The aftermath of the failed ambush left the Empire in chaos. Across the galaxy, admirals, generals, and scientists struggled to understand what had happened. They had faced the human warship, or rather the human fleet, and lived to tell the tale, but survival had not brought comfort. Every report returned from the edge of human space painted the same picture. Humans had created warships unlike anything known, weapons that defied the rules of physics, and shields that laughed at centuries of galactic engineering. The Imperial High Command demanded explanations. Scientists and engineers worked day and night, examining every piece of debris, every fragment of destroyed patrol ships, trying to understand how humans had built such marvels. They measured hull composition, analyzed energy readings, and calculated engine output, but nothing matched the reports. Each discovery led to a single terrifying conclusion: humans did not follow the same rules the galaxy obeyed. In Imperial laboratories, physicists argued fiercely, their voices echoing through sterile halls. "This violates everything we know," one shouted, slamming a datapad onto the table. "Impossible energy density, faster-than-light jumps without detectable warp fields, weapons that punch through shields like paper." Another shook his head, pale. "It cannot be copied. It cannot be understood. They are beyond our knowledge." Outside the labs, fear was growing into terror. Rumors of human ships capable of destroying planets spread like wildfire. Traders refused to enter sectors near Earth, claiming that even one glance at human space could bring doom. Military officers whispered that humans could split moons with their weapons, strike fleets before sensors could detect them, and vanish without warning. No one knew if it was true, but the Empire could not afford to ignore the possibility. Commanders prepared contingency plans for every scenario, each more desperate than the last. Meanwhile, the humans remained silent. No broadcasts, no threats, no demands. Their patience unnerved every officer in the Imperial fleet. Every simulation, every plan of attack failed against the hypothetical human tactics. They could not predict what humans would do next. The more the scientists studied the wreckage, the more they realized that humans had done what the galaxy considered impossible. Their warships used materials unknown to other races, alloys stronger than any element, yet lighter than expected. Their engines did not generate detectable warp fields, yet moved faster than light. Their weapons were not conventional energy beams but used principles of physics in ways no one had imagined. Humans had found loopholes in the laws of nature and exploited them. Every model the Empire created failed. Every simulation crashed. Each attempt to reverse-engineer human technology ended in frustration and despair. One group of engineers, desperate for answers, secretly visited abandoned human colonies. They studied ship designs, schematics, and even attempted to scan the interiors of human vessels. Every effort revealed the same truth: humans built their ships not with brute force or numbers, but with creativity and understanding that the galaxy could not grasp. They combined speed, power, and protection in ways that made alien warships seem primitive. And then came the intelligence reports. Spies claimed that humans had a network of shipyards hidden in dark sectors, producing new warships at a pace that should have been impossible. Supply chains, energy production, and material gathering all operated in perfect secrecy, leaving no trace for the Empire to follow. Every effort to locate these facilities ended in failure. It became clear that humans did not simply build ships, they orchestrated a system beyond comprehension. Fear and awe spread together. Admirals whispered that humans had no weakness, strategists debated in endless circles, and even the Emperor admitted that no conventional plan could succeed against them. "They are not bound by our logic," one scientist muttered to a colleague. "They build because they can, not because we allow it." Across the Empire, morale collapsed. Soldiers questioned orders. Politicians argued endlessly about what to do next. Some advocated retreat and peace, others demanded all-out war, but no one could deny the human superiority in technology and tactics. The humans had revealed one more terrifying fact: they did not need to fight to win. Their mere existence challenged centuries of galactic dominance. A single fleet of human warships could outmatch entire squadrons of Imperial dreadnoughts. A single strike could cripple the Empire's influence over dozens of star systems. And yet, the humans did not attack. They waited. They observed. They built. Each lost patrol ship, each destroyed squadron, served as a lesson for the galaxy. Humans were not reckless. They were precise, patient, and confident. Every move was calculated. Every silence was a message. Scientists and engineers struggled to keep up, studying every scrap of debris, every weapon fragment, and every energy reading. They discovered that human warships were modular, capable of adapting to new threats in ways that Imperial ships could not. Shields could redirect energy, hulls could reform under pressure, weapons could change trajectory mid-flight. It was as if each ship was alive, responding to danger with intelligence far beyond simple programming. The revelation stunned even the most experienced commanders. The humans were not only ahead in technology, they had redefined the concept of warfare. The Empire's most brilliant minds admitted defeat in private meetings. They had no answer, no countermeasure, no plan that could guarantee victory. Fear became panic. Orders were delayed, fleets hesitated, and spies fled in terror. Across the galaxy, alien races grew restless. Some approached the Empire for protection, others quietly strengthened their own defenses. Everyone feared what humans could do next. And still, humans remained silent. In hidden shipyards, warships continued to rise from dark moons and asteroid fields. Crews trained, engineers perfected weapons, and commanders calculated strategies. Each ship was more advanced than the last, more lethal, and more efficient. The humans had made a statement without speaking a word: the galaxy would never be the same. Captain Relan, now back at the Imperial fleet, reviewed the reports from the surviving patrols. He felt a cold dread every time he thought of the humans. Their ingenuity was unmatched. Their silence was more dangerous than 1,000 fleets. He realized that humanity had achieved something the galaxy never thought possible. They had outclassed every empire, every fleet, every weapon, and yet had not even begun to fight. And somewhere in the dark of space, humans continued their work, preparing for a future that no one could predict, a future where the rules of the galaxy no longer applied. Every Imperial officer, every strategist, every senator knew the truth. Humans had revealed their strength, and the revelation had changed the galaxy forever. The galaxy was no longer calm. Everywhere, the name humans spread fear and unease. From the core worlds of the Empire to distant trading posts, whispers traveled faster than light. Merchants closed their routes near human space, terrified of strange weapons that could destroy fleets in minutes. Farmers and miners in border colonies spoke in hushed tones about dark shadows moving in the void, impossible ships appearing out of nowhere. The intelligence reports made matters worse. Every patrol that survived told the same story. Human warships were everywhere and nowhere at the same time, striking with precision and disappearing before counterattacks could land. The Empire tried to hide the scale of the threat, but secrecy could not contain fear. Civilian worlds caught wind of the reports, and panic spread among the populace. Families fled to inner systems, abandoning mining stations and small colonies. Trade slowed, food supplies became scarce, and starports overflowed with desperate travelers. Even the Empire's soldiers, trained for decades to fight and die without fear, whispered about the humans in corners of their barracks. "They are not like any race we have faced," one recruit said quietly to another. "No one can beat them. No one." The whispers reached alien worlds beyond the Empire's control. The Kethari Republic convened an emergency council, fearing that human power could upset the delicate balance of alliances. The Shalari Confederation secretly reinforced its borders, adding patrols and monitoring every sector near the human frontier. Even peaceful traders began arming their freighters, buying weapons at twice the normal cost. Rumors grew wilder by the hour. Stories circulated that humans could split moons, fire projectiles faster than light, and cloak entire fleets from detection. No one knew how much was true, but the fear was real. The Imperial Admiralty held council after council, trying to create strategies to cope with the humans. Plans for fleet expansions, espionage, sabotage, and surprise attacks were drawn and discarded repeatedly. No one could find a solution. Every theory failed against the known facts of human ingenuity and technology. One admiral said bluntly, "We are fighting ghosts with our eyes closed. They appear, strike, and vanish. We cannot touch them." Scientists continued to analyze debris from past skirmishes. The human ships were modular, adaptive, and faster than anything the Empire had ever built. Energy readings, weapon designs, and armor compositions defied conventional understanding. Even theoretical models failed to predict their tactics. In short, humans had outclassed the entire galaxy in a single generation. Political leaders grew desperate. Alliances formed and collapsed in days, each world trying to position itself away from the humans' path. Some attempted negotiations with the Empire to contain the Terrans, but the Empire could offer no guarantees. Every ruler understood that if humans chose to expand aggressively, no power could stop them. The fear extended into culture and religion. On many planets, humans were seen as almost mythical, invincible beings capable of anything. Stories and legends spread, warning of entire fleets destroyed by a single human warship. Children whispered tales of dark ships that could vanish into the stars, never to be seen again. Entire sectors began to behave as if a storm were approaching, altering trade, migration, and communication. The Empire's fleets, once symbols of invincibility, now inspired dread. Commanders doubted their plans, officers feared their orders, and even the strongest admirals hesitated before deploying ships. Reports of strange phenomena near human territory worsened the panic. Scout vessels described massive energy fluctuations, lights that moved faster than thought, and hulls that appeared larger than any sensor could measure. Engineers studying these readings shook their heads, unable to explain them. Some suggested the humans had discovered new forms of energy, or even manipulated the fabric of space itself. Meanwhile, the humans remained silent. No declarations, no threats, no demands. Their fleets continued to operate in perfect secrecy, hiding massive shipyards in dark sectors, and producing warships faster than the Empire could count. Their patience was almost cruel, allowing fear to spread while maintaining their distance. The Imperial Senate debated endlessly, trying to calm the growing panic. News of human power had already reached inner systems, causing riots, strikes, and mass migrations. Senators argued over whether to deploy more fleets, seek alliances with other races, or attempt diplomacy with humans themselves. None of the options seemed viable. The more the galaxy speculated, the worse the fear became. Rumors, exaggerations, and misinformation flourished, and even small victories or sightings were magnified into evidence of human invincibility. Deep in the shadows of human space, human commanders observed the galaxy's reactions quietly. They made no moves to attack, no signals to intimidate, no threats to demand submission. Every action was precise, measured, and deliberate. Humans understood the power of patience. The galaxy did not need to see their full strength to fear them. It was enough to know they existed, and that nothing could challenge them. As fear grew, the Empire tried one last strategy: psychological warfare. Messages were sent to allied worlds, warning that humans were dangerous but not invincible. Propaganda aimed to calm the civilian population, assure them of the Empire's protection, and prevent total panic. But the effort failed. Nothing could erase the stories from traders, pilots, and soldiers who had witnessed the humans firsthand. The fear had taken root too deeply. Reports from spies described new human warships, each larger and more advanced than the last. The fleet grew silently, almost invisibly, as humans expanded their power quietly. Every sighting, every encounter reinforced the idea that humans could not be stopped. By now, the Empire understood a simple truth: they had underestimated humanity, and the consequences were catastrophic. Panic had spread to every corner of the galaxy. Systems were destabilized. Alliances wavered. Trade routes collapsed. The fear of humans was not just military. It was psychological, economic, and cultural. No one wanted war, but no one felt safe. In this climate, even the most confident officers questioned their own abilities. Fleet commanders argued in secret that no strategy could succeed. Engineers admitted their weapons were outdated. Politicians debated endlessly, but every solution seemed doomed before it began. And yet, humans remained silent, calm, and patient, building power in the shadows while the galaxy crumbled under fear. Captain Relan watched reports flood in from every sector. Traders were disappearing, fleets hesitating, colonies shutting down. The humans were winning without firing a single shot. He realized that the galaxy's fear was as much a weapon as the warships themselves. It was clear now that humans had mastered not only technology but strategy, psychology, and perception. The message was simple: underestimate us, and you will fail. The galaxy held its breath. Every species, every empire, every fleet waited to see what humans would do next. The rising fear was not just a symptom of uncertainty, it was a prelude to something far greater. Next moves, knowing that the galaxy was already trembling at their presence, and that the Empire had no idea what was coming. The galaxy waited in silence, trembling at the thought of humans and their unstoppable warships. Every world, every fleet, every council knew the truth. Humanity had changed the balance of power forever. Rumors of ships that could vanish, weapons that could split moons, and fleets that outclassed entire armadas had spread to the farthest corners of known space. Panic, dread, and awe swept across civilizations, and no one dared act recklessly. And yet, the humans themselves remained quiet, patient, and observant. They did not launch attacks. They did not broadcast threats. They watched and prepared, their intentions hidden behind the shadow of their immense fleets and secret shipyards. In the imperial palace, the emperor gathered his council once more. Admirals and generals bowed, their faces pale and grim. "The humans have shown us what we feared," the emperor said, his voice heavy. "They have proven that our fleets, our technology, our strategy, all are inferior to theirs. Yet they have made no move against us. That means they do not need to." The council listened in silence, the weight of his words sinking into every mind. Every strategist knew he was right. To confront humans now would be to walk into annihilation. To ignore them was to live under a shadow that would grow stronger every day. Across the galaxy, communications channels flickered to life unexpectedly. Ships, colonies, and stations paused their operations. The signal was strong, clear, and unmistakable. It was human. No one knew from which vessel it originated, but the message reached every corner of space simultaneously. To all civilizations in the galaxy, the calm, steady voice said, "We are humans. We do not seek conquest. We do not seek chaos. We have built these ships to ensure that we may survive, and to remind all others that survival is not guaranteed. Our technology, our fleets, and our strength are proof of our ability to protect ourselves. We will not attack without reason. We will not harm those who respect our existence. But we will not be enslaved, we will not be threatened, and we will not be deceived. Consider this your warning." Silence followed the transmission. Every fleet, every colony, every individual listened in awe and fear. The message was calm, almost serene, yet it carried a weight that shook the galaxy to its core. Humans had not threatened war, they had simply reminded everyone of their power, and that reminder was enough to instill fear. In the Imperial fleet, Admiral Kareth leaned back in his chair, his face pale. "They could destroy us," he whispered, almost to himself. "Every ship, every station, every fleet, gone in hours." The Emperor remained silent, his mind calculating every implication. The council debated, but every argument returned to a single undeniable fact. Humans were now the dominant power, and no one could challenge them openly. Across other civilizations, leaders held emergency meetings, trying to interpret the human message. Was it a bluff? Was it diplomacy? Or was it a simple statement of fact? None could say. The humans had not asked for surrender, nor had they offered peace. They had simply stated their existence, their capability, and their terms. And that was enough. On isolated worlds near human space, patrols reported the continued rise of warships from hidden shipyards. Each vessel was larger, more advanced, and more terrifying than the last. The humans did not rush their construction, nor did they broadcast it. They worked in silence, preparing for a future they would face on their own terms. Soldiers and civilians alike understood something vital. The human strength was not just in technology. It was in patience, strategy, and understanding. They did not strike recklessly. They waited. They observed. And when the time came, they would act with absolute precision. Captain Relan watched the last transmissions from the edge of human space. He had survived previous encounters, studied the warships, and witnessed the destruction of Imperial fleets. But even he could not prepare for the full realization of human power. Their message was simple and terrifying in its clarity. Humans had the power to decide the fate of the galaxy, and they would use it only when necessary. Fear became the galaxy's new ruler. No fleet moved without consideration. No council acted without caution. No ruler dared challenge human authority. The humans had achieved something no one thought possible: dominance without violence, influence without demands, control without conflict. In hidden corners of human space, commanders and engineers observed the galaxy's reaction with calm detachment. They continued their work, building ships, training crews, and preparing weapons. Every design was perfected, every strategy refined, and every fleet ready. Humans understood that the galaxy feared them, and they used that fear to secure their borders, ensure their safety, and prepare for the future. Across alien worlds, the story of humans spread further. Legends formed around their warships, their technology, and their patience. Scholars debated whether humans were even bound by the same rules as other species. Politicians argued endlessly about what could be done to counter them, but each debate ended in the same answer: nothing. The Empire itself struggled to adapt. They fortified borders, built new ships, and attempted diplomacy, but every effort was measured against a force they could not comprehend. And through it all, humans waited. The galaxy realized that humans were not conquerors, they were guardians of their own destiny. Their silence, their patience, and their strength were weapons more powerful than fleets or armies. And finally, after years of fear, the galaxy understood a simple truth: humans had sent a message, not of war, but of power and restraint. That message alone was enough to change the course of history. No one dared test it. No one dared challenge it. And in the darkness of space, humans continued to build, continue to prepare, and continue to watch. Every patrol, every fleet, every government understood that humanity's power was absolute and inevitable. The galaxy had learned to fear humans, not for their aggression, but for their ability to act when necessary, and for the knowledge that when they did act, no one could stop them. Captain Relan, now a veteran of countless encounters, stared into the void and whispered quietly, "They did not have to fire a shot, and yet, we all tremble." Across the stars, fear settled like a shadow over every system. Trade, politics, and even culture shifted in response to a species that had risen silently, decisively, and inexorably. Humanity had sent its message, and the galaxy had listened. And somewhere, hidden in the dark reaches of space, new human warships were being constructed, waiting for the day when the galaxy would see what it truly meant to challenge humanity.